Hi, everybody. Okay, you can see that this is my new green screen and the new camera. Which is actually I look great today. Like wow, okay, good. Just apologize. We're gonna have a green screen later. We are restarting our computer because we haven't turned it on for like over a year. And actually, the whole system need to be rebuilt. So EJ just got a new window last night, and this morning is doing some system update, and it take about over an hour already. So it will be ready very shortly. It's how many percent is that? 90 something?
The screen's just black right now.
The screen is just black, so nobody knows.
I have a mouse cursor now for the first time in an hour.
All right, everybody, welcome to MOONCAST. I'm Luna. I'm a Vietnamese communist born and living in Vietnam, and this is my new studio. Thing is still being built, and for sure that it will be better in the very near future. Is this the first time you watch my stream, Alex? I've been watching many of your videos on YouTube. Oh, hi, thank you. Thank you so much for your support. Yes, this is my MOONCAST. I do this every week, every night. On Tuesday night, 9 p.m., 10 p.m., yes. Every EST time, by the way. All right. Sorry, I just sneezed right before this, so I sniffy again. I'm sorry.
Why you sneeze at the beginning of every
I don't get
stream?
it. It's like, am I allergic to streams?
It's weird.
Can you grab me that tissue? Thank you. You found the microphone. Yes, you remember in last broadcast that we've been missing that microphone and we found them. So it is pretty funny, and it's in a plastic bag. We walk by it nearly every single day. Like dozens of times every single day. Walk by that bag, but we didn't know that it's microphone in in that bag. Echo from room. Yes. Yes, we have a bunch of foam.
It's because we're using a temporary mic right now. It'll be a little bit better when we get the good mic going. And then, yeah, we're going to foam.
Exactly. We have a
process.
This microphone is not being used yet because the computer is not on yet. So we are using a backup microphone.
You already explained that. Just move forward, move forward. We don't have to talk about the tech problems the whole time.
True.
Accentuate the positive.
Oh, yes, I've been missing the cartoon intro too.
We lost it.
But we lost it somewhere, somehow in a hard drive.
It's somewhere. I gotta find it.
Yeah.
You gotta unpack the hard drive or something.
Yes. We have a whole box of hard drives, and the cartoon intro is in one of them. We don't know where yet. At first it was in that computer, but then it's being reinstalled. So, okay. Hey, Chip, you're back in Australia? Oh, okay. You're back in Australia. I see. When did you be back in Vietnam? All right. Oh, here's
Do you need some Benita
the silver. Yeah, I need Benita. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know why.
It's absurd.
Thank you so much for silver chat, Gio. It's a silver sticker.
Wait, I've been telling you this for months. Just take Benita every day, and then you won't have allergy
Hey,
problems.
I don't know why, but right before stream, it's always like that.
Luna, Benita every morning. Take your allergy medicine every morning. That's what people like us with allergies have to do. You don't have a choice in the matter. Every morning, allergy medicine.
Dang it.
You just don't do it because you don't like the taste, right?
Yeah, I don't.
That's why you have allergies, because you don't take your medicine.
Hey. Oh no! My computer is so slow and I hate it. And all right, okay, got it. Because I'm looking for. Is it here?
All right, stand up. Stand up.
Oh, that's a super sticker from Gio.
Stand up.
Really?
Come here. You don't have to do this on camera. Okay.
I don't want to.
All right, just do it. Cover your other nose. Cover your other nostril. All right, now if you do that before the stream,
Smell like
it's
tofu.
better for everyone.
It smells like tofu. I don't like it.
You love tofu.
Not the raw one and into my nose.
Too bad.
Hi, Gio. Thank you so much for the super sticker. It is a hippo sitting on a chair. The computer gaming chair and spinning. I love it.
That's what I've been doing.
AJ, yeah, cover your other nose. I only have one nose, EJ.
Your nostril, your nose hole.
Okay, got it. I'm just trying to make fun. It was.
I got the joke. I'm annoyed and frustrated with you because you don't take your allergy medicine every day. It makes you miserable.
Kai, don't you have one of those sprays that go right into your nose? Yes, I just use that and I hate it.
It's literally like Luna's being literally a baby.
I am.
She doesn't take her medicine because she doesn't like the way it tastes. And then she gets allergies and then she complains about it. It's just like, take your medicine. Just take your medicine, Luna.
Hi, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about the corruption in Vietnam. And I can also do the Q&A session after that, maybe in the last 40 minutes. But just long story short, Vietnam been cracking down on corruption very strongly in the last 5 to 7 years. And I can give you a quick and brief history of why we were so corrupt, we are still so corrupt, and why we have to crack it down, and how we been doing it. And I'm gonna tell you about the most recent and the most massive corruption case that just happened in Vietnam. It's pretty wild. And to see how Vietnam, we still have a lot of problems, but we are trying to fix them, and how we are doing it. To just give you a very a very open perspective about what's been going on in Vietnam. So let me give you a brief history of why Vietnam was so corrupted and why I have to do this, right? And then
okay, I don't usually correct you, but since you're going to be talking about corruption all stream, corrupt means when someone does something like shady with the government or whatever. Corrupted means like rotten. So the person is corrupt.
Corrupt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be an asshole.
Corrupt. I thought corrupt. Okay.
So it's like he is corrupt means he like took a bribe or did something like that. He is corrupted means like.
Now, maybe that is to my throat.
Oh my God.
Awful people. That's why I don't want to take this. It's like torture.
Doing its job. That tingling sensation tells you it's working.
Being it. All right. So corrupt. Why Thailand and Vietnam is very corrupt. So here we go. Where did it start? We can tell that like we start from early 2000. You know, when Vietnam in the 1994 we started talking about. We in the USA started talking about normalizing the relationship between the two countries. So, and we have to do the Đổi mới reform from 1986. The goal goes all the way back into that. So at that time, I said it many times, but many times already, Vietnam was facing a lot of problems and starvation and the comprehensive sanctions from the USA. So we had to do Đổi mới reforms where we have to allow privatization into our economy. So to persuade the USA to like stop sanctioning us. And that was why, you know, we have a private sector in our economy, and it led to a bunch of corruption. Right from the 1990s, around the year I was born, one of the first things that we did during that Đổi mới reform, the first big mistake that we did after Đổi mới reform was allow some private sector to be in our education system, which was, you know, at that time in my older brother Tom, mostly like the curriculum textbook, the textbook curriculum for primary school, middle school, for high school students usually the same. They only change or have some fixing or edit once every 10 years, something like that. So kids, so they can just reuse the old textbook from the previous generations, and so they find and save a lot of money. It saved a lot of money for my family and my brother Tom. But when I was born, that was the first time we have education reform. It means that it was a big reform where they said that, Vietnam is in the new phase right now. We need new change. We need to educate our kids in a new era. So they wrote a whole new freaking textbook. And every single year, even though my family was so poor, we had to buy brand new textbook every single year. And it sucked a lot to the economy. And Vietnamese were, many of us still very, very poor at that time in the 90s, still under the US sanction. So it sucks a lot. And about the late 90s, like in 1996 or 7, yeah. And then slowly, it just got worse and worse. Well, this is one of the biggest example of why privatization sucks. Because it doesn't care about students or their families at all, economy at all. All they care about is profit. So before that, in the subsidizing model, like my brother Tom, they can just reuse old, and my mom's arm, they can just reuse old textbook. They can borrow, and then the previous generations just left the textbook in the school, and the school borrow, let those new generation students borrow the textbooks. They don't have to pay any or pay just a little bit, like a few cents a semester. But in my generation, to buy a whole set, and then early 2000 it got worse. It's like every single year they change a little bit of the textbook, like just one picture or one poem only, but they bring a whole new curriculum. So we're like the next generation buy the whole new one, and the old one just like thrown into trash. It's a waste of money, waste of effort, and waste of natural resources. It's a bunch of money to make, like those paper like that. How many trees got chopped out because of that? And it got even worse nowadays in the 2010s, is that there are 4 different companies that bring 4 different curriculums of textbooks. All right. So before that, it was just one standardized curriculum of textbook. They just change every year. But now every year there are 4 different curriculums, and the schools will have to inform their parents to like, this is textbook, we must buy it from this company. because it's different from the other three companies. So like, you see how stronger the private companies get into the education, and it sucks a lot, and everybody is sick of it right now, and we are desperately asking the government to stop this because it is awful. It doesn't do anything, it doesn't help, and every student just like confused because like the knowledge in this school will be different from the knowledge from that school, and they compete with each other, they conflict with each other. And therefore, when we have like university exam, the nationalized university exam, it's gonna be very difficult for a student because like they learn differently from high school. So like how they can have the standardized, how can they pass a standardized like university exam like that? So it's like cause a lot of them. All it did was to make more and more profit to the pockets of those private, the textbook printing company, and they all, under investigation in jail right now alongside the Ministry of Education.
Wait, Luna. I thought, according to the internet, Luna never says anything bad about Vietnam. She's like an ultranationalist. She's an ultranationalist who never says anything bad about Vietnam.
Some of my textbook cost up to $200. Yeah, the price in the US is freaking high. In Chile, we would get school textbook for free that we would have to give back at the end of the year. I made my parents pay for copies. I did comb my hair, it's just crazy like that. I made my parents pay for copies I could give. It was like that in Vietnam. It was, but now it can't. It's impossible because the textbook in the new year is different because they intentionally did it, made it different, so they cannot reuse it. They have to buy a new one.
See, they did that when I was in college. You'd have to buy like the new version of the textbook, and they would only change like 2-3 things. It's worse now in the USA because you know what they do now in the USA with college textbooks? They have like QR codes on them and shit that you have to scan, and if you don't like, I mean, this wasn't the case when I was going to college, but apparently people say now you have to like do the DRM for your textbook to show that it's like an authentic copy. It's wild.
What? All right. So thank you, Lisa, for combing my crazy hair.
Doing my job.
Doing your art. What do you call it? Art department job.
Hair and makeup.
Hair and makeup. Okay. I don't think I could be good in the hair and makeup team, but I could be good in art direct team. I love working, on the set or clothes, thing like that.
Yeah.
All right, so now that is just a small story about one ministry only, but it happened a lot in many other ministries too. And then around early 2010 and 16, we had a super corrupt government, which was controlled by neoliberals. So, in the 90s when we did the privatization of education and many other fields too, it was like the first gateway for neoliberals to be voted and control the government from the 90s, late 90s to early 2000, and finally into around 2010 when Vietnam was free from the comprehensive US sanction, normalized the relationship with the USA, and joined the WTO, the World Trade Organization. Like that time, neoliberalism was very kind of popular in Vietnam because we just saw those economical, succeed, and those neoliberals just took all the credits for it. It's like, oh, vote for us. So like, our economy is going to be so well. Look at everything. So like they won the election and they got into the government of Vietnam, and the government at that time was super freaking corrupted. Right. It was super freaking corrupt. I hate English. All right. So like the whole huge government at that time, like the president, the prime minister, vice prime minister, ministers, super corrupt. And it has a deep root of corruption in Vietnam, and it did a lot of damage into our economy. And so finally into about 2016, Vietnam, like realized, like how horrible the government was. And we realized, like all the corruption just got shown up worse and worse and worse, like the bribe money, on the table money, blah, blah, blah. So we started, we voted to a new government. The new government is a better government. So after they got elected, we started to crack down and take those deep roots out. And that procedure is still going on to this day in the year 2023. That was how long it's going to take. And we're going to do this until we finish all the deep roots of that corruption time, right? And the story that the main point of the topic of today is a Ministry of Foreign Affairs and how disgusting it is. And it started in the COVID-19, 2020. Let me get you an article so I can just tell you a full report. I can give you a full report about that case. It's very complicated. It lasts for a long time. And we just have a final answer just last week. Here we go. So this is a corruption story that happened during COVID-19 because of COVID-19. Even though I made a lot of videos talking about how, awesome, the government of Vietnam and Vietnam deal with COVID, but there is another true story that is the ugly side of that time that got ruined by corrupt people in the government and the capitalists, how they work together to take advantage of the national disaster. And this is in the law of Vietnam, is the kind of worst crime ever, that you make use of the national disaster to make profit to your pocket. That is one of the worst crime in the law of Vietnam. Let me translate to English because again, it's originally in a Vietnamese newspaper. And here is translated into English. Okay. Overview of the rescue flight case about to go trial in Hanoi. Wait, but if they are arrested now, it means that there's corruption in Vietnam, so socialism doesn't work. I mean, whatever we do, we're gonna be attacked anyway by those enemies. Because if we don't do anything, they say oh, Vietnam is so corrupt. They won't do anything with corruption. Socialism doesn't work. And if we do crack down corruption, they see, that is proof that Vietnam communism is corrupt. So socialism doesn't work, because no matter what we do.
My favorite example of that with corruption is maybe it was about 3 or 4 months ago. I think it was when we were in the U.S. about maybe 6 months ago. They were starting to crack down on all the business executives. And then a lot of newspaper stories were coming out from the West that were like, Vietnam cracking down on corruption is bad for the economy in Vietnam. Oh, yeah. Vietnam is cracking down on corruption, but at what cost?
Yeah, right. So what do you want us to do? Crack down on corruption or not? And also, you remember a few years ago, there was an article in Reuters or something, or BBC, talking about how a banker in Vietnam got sent to jail because of the tone is just a banker in Vietnam just did some minor crime, and he was heavily punished by the government. Oh, Vietnam authoritarian, terrible. They didn't even tell people in that same article that banker is actually a minister, and his minor crime was that he took $5 million of the national budget into his own pocket, and then he caused sea pollution that irreversible, cannot be fixed, because he imported trash poisonous trash and dump it into the ocean in Vietnam, and he took $5 million out of the national budget into his own pocket. That is the banker, and that is the minor crime that they talk about. It's really disgusting. All right, about this rescue flight. Okay, let me tell you this. Give you some background before. What do we mean when we say rescue flight? So remember, back in 2020, when the world is being, like shocked with the new pandemic, which is the COVID-19, right? And Vietnam was one of the countries that had the best performance, dealing with COVID-19 compared to the rest of the world. So a lot of Vietnamese citizens outside of Vietnam, overseas, they wanted to go back to be rescued back to Vietnam because they could die in the overseas. So Vietnam did a lot of rescue flight. It is the official policies from the government of Vietnam that Vietnam would send flights to all over the countries in the world to try to get back our citizens back home. And that is the spirit of the policy, and everybody was very happy. So in a matter of from 2020 2022, in the matter of 2-3 years, we made about 400 rescue flights, all right, to bring people with bad health to Vietnam so they can be saved. But during that time, during that procedure of bringing back in a very humane policy like that, bringing back our citizens so they can stay alive, those corrupt CEOs and corrupt governors work together to take money they raise the price of the flight tickets. So they use that money to bribe the governors. And this is how it happened. It's really ugly. I'm sorry, but it's really ugly. I couldn't believe that this could happen. They could be that evil. They work together like that. Going against the policy of the party, the state does not leave anyone behind. That's the slogan of Vietnam that time, that Vietnam do not leave anyone behind. Some individuals have taken advantage of their positions and power to corrupt, make it difficult for businesses to organize rescue flight to remove profit. So that is, long story short, this means, so the governors, the one who approved these rescue flights in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they made it harder for flights to be approved. So they can ask for on the table, you have to give us some money or else this flight will not be approved. You cannot have this flight. So those flight companies, those tourist companies, they gave those governors millions of dollars worth of bribes, of under table money, so their flights can be approved. And after that, they raise the prices of the flight tickets. So at the end of the day, it's the Vietnamese people, desperate people, who have to pay for this. All right. Now that was the main issue in this case. These are people who return in the rescue flight. All right. A particularly serious and complicated case occurred in the context of an outbreak of a COVID-19 epidemic. Special attention from the party, blah, 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 related to many agencies, organizations, and functional units, both at home and abroad, will be heard by the Hanoi People's Court tomorrow on July 11th. Now it's like August already, so it happened. That court lasted for 10 days. So it ended around 10 days ago. Up to 54 defendants were brought to trial in this rescuing flight case. And sadly, many of them are high-ranking officials assigned by the party and the state to protect and help them. To help the citizens, but instead of performing their duties, they took advantage of their positions and power to personal gain. Let's look at the whole case with Vietnam Plus. This is a report by a pretty big article in Vietnam, like newspaper in Vietnam. 400 rescue flight and 372 combo flights. So the story starts in January 2022. The COVID-19 pandemic began to break out and gradually spread around the world. By April 2020, there were millions of people infected with the disease and hundreds of thousands of people died from this disease. Many countries have had to apply blockade policies, close borders, and stop international flights. It is all this time in the context of fear of disease outbreak in other countries, causing difficulties for life and health safety. The demand for Vietnamese citizens abroad is constantly increasing. Although the country's economic conditions was still difficult, the fight against the pandemic is entering a complicated, expensive stage, but the party and the state still create favorable conditions to welcome citizens back to their homeland. After the success of the flight that brought 30 Vietnamese citizens from Wuhan, China in March 2020, the motto "Leaving no one behind" started, and in April 2020, the government allowed the implementation of the rescue flight bringing back citizens from many parts of the world. The return of citizens of the country is organized by the following form. The priority citizens are allowed to return on flight organized by state agencies and isolated at military facilities. Citizens only have to pay for the flight tickets, not for any isolation costs or any treatment. So like they just paid for the ticket and everything else is going to be free. Priority identified subjects include like students under 18-year-old or people over 60-year-old, people receive medical treatment abroad or have a history of underlying disease such as diabetes, heart disease, and cancer, and so on, pregnant women, blah, blah, blah. So that is the policy. That is the spirit of the policy that we just mentioned right here. Okay, there's going to be doctors. There were doctors and crews and nurses on the plane, and they were all free, except the price ticket, the flight ticket, of course. Then, in response to the need to repatriate compatriots, in the context of complicated development in the world and domestic pandemic being well controlled, in parallel with the rescue flight, the government continued to allow organized combo flights. This is for people who are not in the priority group, but still want to get back home because they're scared. So we gave them combo flights. The combo flights are organized by businesses for citizens who have the need to voluntarily pay the package cost to return home, including airfare, acceptance letter from the quarantine organization, after have agreed on the cost of quarantine and a written approval for entry. So the rescue flight was organized by the government, and the combo flights were organized by business, and this is when shit happens, all right? Businesses, they took this as the opportunity to corrupt, and the governor too. From early 2020 to January 2022, authorities have licensed and organized more than 1,000 flights, bringing more than 200,000 citizens home from 62 countries and territories back home. Okay, particularly the Foreign Affairs has approved to the government to approve the total over 700 flights to bring citizens back home, including 400 rescue flights and 372 combo flights. According to the process, businesses wishing to organize a combo flight must apply for the policy of the People's Committee, where the citizens are isolated to return home. The dossier is sent to the Consular Department, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and then blah blah. It's like all the permission that they have to get for one flight to be approved, like that. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has a SEAL unit and individual to advise on licensing flights according to the process, blah blah blah. Okay, pick up or like oversee people register and then pick up, blah blah, and then quarantine. At home, this is when shit happened right here. At home, the Citizen Protection Department under the Consular Department led by Lưu Tuấn Dũng was the deputy head of the department, received report from Vietnam's diplomatic, and they organized flights, blah, 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 like that. After this process, like the Lưu Tuấn Dũng guy submit to the leaders, to consulars, explaining all the procedure and why it could be so corrupt, right? And now this is the last step. Tô Anh Dũng is the former deputy minister of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is the guy, like the final step of everything. He was the last final one to approve for everything. and he was the one who received the most under-table money. Okay, in order to be approved for this process, as I just said, in order to be approved for this process, many businesses had to use the expense of lubricating, the under-table money to the individuals involved in this process. A group of 20 businesses with more than 100 legal entities had to raise airfares, drawing more costs incurred for customers wishing to return to the country in the middle of the pandemic. So, 20 businesses and 100 legal entities involved in this under-table case. During the process of licensing flights and approving local isolation from September 2020 to 2022, 25 individuals took advantage of their positions, power, and assigned tasks to receive bribes. And the total is $165 billion, which is about 20 tỷ là khoảng $8 million total. All right? 165 billion VND is about $8 million. And they cost 10 billion is about $500,000 in the cost of the national budget. They took $8 million into the pocket from those companies, and then they cost $500,000 loss to the national budget of the government of Vietnam. Okay. 23 individuals are representatives of business that paid more than 226 billion in bribes. Oh my freaking God. 4 brokers, 7 blah, blah. So like this is all the money that they paid.
Okay, this is this is probably not the best way to look at this.
Yeah.
I almost don't want to talk about this, but
oops. Hot take.
Just the fact that there were people paying that much money to get back to Vietnam during COVID,
yes,
tells you how much better Vietnam's COVID response was than the rest of the world.
Yeah, like they're willing to pay for that.
I mean, I wouldn't have paid it. You would have to pay me $8 million to go back to USA in 2020. I was like terrified I'd get sent back to the USA in 2020.
I mean, that's what I mean. From here in the US, the action being taken against this corruption would never happen. I mean, if you think about it in a positive light, when was the last time you heard that the minister or like secretary in the USA being sent to jail for a lifetime because of corruption?
Corruption just got legalized in the US. They call it lobbying now.
Yeah, you call it lobbying. You can just buy into an election. I mean,
and super PACs, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's illegal in Vietnam. They could go to jail because of that. You cannot buy into an election in Vietnam. No, impossible. It's against the law.
Like donate. You can't donate.
You cannot donate or even receive a donation.
Right. But calling it buying into an election is probably more accurate, actually.
Yeah. All right, continue. It's almost finished right here. All right, so here's things get worse. Okay, so after the government, the good guys in the government found out about this corruption case, and they started investigation, and they know that they would crack down on this heavily, like there's no excuse for this. Those people who knew that they were involved in this case, they were scared, they were panicked, and then they paid even more bribe to get out of this case. So that's what they believe. So they went to a cop guy, a very high-ranking cop guy that is like the leader of the investigation team. They gave him a bunch of money in a belief that their names would be out of the list of the criminals, right? And they paid even more money. They paid about like over $2 million more for that, investigation team so they can be spared. And of course, that investigation team also got arrested and also sent to jail. So it was $2.6 million. $2.6 million in total was sent. to those investigations. So there was three main teams that got involved in this corruption case. It was, of course, a group of over about 20 different companies that paid the bribes. A group of about over 20 high-ranking members of the government of Vietnam who received the bribe money to approve those combo flights to bring people back home. And the group three is the investigation team members who did the investigation and was supposed to crack this case down and bring those criminals into the light. They received $2.6 million from the same criminals, business criminals. And now all of them are under the court. 10 days, about 20 days ago, they were brought into court. And the total was, this is the most heavily corrupt members of the government involved in this case. On the left side is To Anh Dũng, the former Deputy Minister of the Foreign Affairs on the left. And on the right side is Nguyễn Quang Linh, former assistant to the permanent Deputy Prime Minister of the government. These are the two monsters that took the most money and caused the most damage, because they were the last one to approve those flights, so they received the most money. Look at this face. Look at this face. These people, they use the freaking national disaster for their own gain. Why are millions of people in Vietnam suffering? Billions of people in the world suffering, and many thousands, many millions more died of this global pandemic. These people, they receive a lot of trust from the people of Vietnam, from the Communist Party of Vietnam, from the government of Vietnam. And they took this national disasters where millions of people suffer to put millions of dollars in their pocket. And this guy on the left, when the cops asked him, where did he spend his money? He said that he spent his money to buy real estate and then to lend that money to other people. This fucking asshole. Evil fucking asshole. Can't believe that. Can't believe that they could do it in that time. Holy smoke, how evil you must be to take advantage of that time. And they know for sure that how much the government of Vietnam, the Communist Party of Vietnam wanted to help people, to save people, even though our country is still poor and have a lot of struggling at that time. But these people, oh, I can't express to you how disgusted I am right now at these faces. Okay, so finally we have the list of 54 defendants that got prosecuted by the Supreme People's, court. Okay, 21 defendants charged with receiving bribes. 23 defendants for give away bribes. 4 defendants for the crime of abusing position and powers while performing official duties. 4 defendants charged with the crime of brokering bribes. So they introduce the bribe receiver and bribe giver, like the brokering bribes. 1 defendant is charged of fraud to appropriate property, and 1 defendant of both counts of fraudulent appropriation of property and giving bribes. 1 guy. All right. Okay, this is one of the biggest courts in the history of Vietnam, with 54 defendants and 120 defense lawyers. It is a huge court. It is a huge court of over 200 people in that court. Okay, many the one that has the most defenders what did you call it? Vũ Hồng Quang, the The former deputy head of Air Transport Department, blah, blah, Ministry of Transport, has the most defense lawyers, 6 lawyers, only for himself. That's how rich and how awful they are. 6 lawyers defending him, the one who received bribes in a freaking pandemic. All right. And these are the list of all the people, high-ranking members of the government and the Communist Party, receive and giving bribes. Look at this. It's awful faces. Any form of real estate property limit in Vietnam? We have a limit on real estate, on farming. I made a video about this land reform already, but on housing, we are working on a set of law that we will have a very high tax or the second or the third property, like house or something like that. But long story short, we haven't had a strong rule about that yet. But the thing that is this, these people, they are very insidious. When they buy new real estate, they are not under their names. No, they are not smart enough to not put those under their name. They put those under their family members' names, such as like their parents, their wife, their children, their uncles, their aunts. You know, it's just those people living in a rural area, they don't know nothing. And suddenly one day their niece and their nephews is like, hey, I bought a land and I want to, a piece of land, I want to borrow your ID for that. And so like, they don't know nothing. So like, yeah, these people, they do not put their names on those properties that they own. This is their family members who don't know better. This is the list of these monsters. It's so ugly. And these are the people from the, companies, businesses that give the bribes. We don't have pictures of many people though. Even though we have a picture of all of the high-ranking members, sadly, we don't have enough pictures of these people. These are the people who give the bribes and charge way higher price of their passengers. These are the bribe breakers, the bribe brokers. All right, now that is it. Now that's the story. That is the case. The court is finished. Many of them receive life sentence. Many others receive from like 10 years, from like 14 months to 10 years. That is it. That is the case. They end up parasites upon their own families as well. Sad. Yeah, this is really, really sad. An entire lawyer's office was be held for this case. It's over 200 people on that. So like 120 lawyers plus 54 defendants, 174 plus about 10 people in the court, 10 more of the judge, and the prosecutors and the cops and the people who joined that. Around 40 like witnesses was brought into that. So that court, like nearly 300 people in one court. The biggest in the history of Vietnam. And this actually, even though it's really sad and angry that so many people, got involved in that and make use of that situation for their own gain, but it also, looking at it from the bright side, they also put this case online too, so the whole country can witness. Yeah, they put the whole court in the television so people can watch it. Looking at it from the bright side, it is kind of an evidence to the Vietnamese people that this government is taking care of corruption, and they are very serious about it. And it raised a little bit of more trust of the people on the government, on this government, because we see that everybody knows that the previous government was corrupt, and everybody was sick of it and angry and mad at it and want to end this. And it earned more trust. The new government right now, Vietnam, earned more trust of Vietnamese people because we can tell that, hey, this government, we are dealing with this. And those people, we have to pay for it. And even, when they found out, those criminals, they found out that they will be investigated, they will be sent to jail, they will be arrested. They paid $2.6 million to run away from this case. And that whole investigation team also got arrested too. It's like, oh, so they're doing pretty decent job dealing with this. So yeah, it is totally different and opposite than in the West, where first of all, you legalize corruption. You call it lobby, and you can totally buy into an election. Super corrupt system like that. But then because you legalize it, so technically you don't have corruption in the US because it's legal. Like, it's really fucked up way to think about it, but a lot of people believe that because you never have any crackdown on corruption, and it's not corruption anymore. Since it's called lobby, so means that there's not corruption. Or another thing is that they blame each other. So the Democrats blame the Republicans on corruption, and vice versa. So they never admit that there is corruption in their government, in their parties.
That's a huge point.
They never admit it. They blame each other, or they legalize it.
The Communist Party in Vietnam has been admitting that there's a problem with corruption for many years now, like over half a decade at least. And I've never heard the Republicans or the Democrats admit that they have a problem with corruption at all.
Yeah, have you ever in your lifetime heard that the Democratic Party or the Republican Party admit that there's corruption in their party and they have to crack it down?
In fact, when they do catch a corrupt politician or a corrupt cop or something in the US, they'll be like, oh, one bad apple doesn't spoil the whole bunch. Which is funny too, because that expression originally was one bad apple does spoil the whole bunch.
Ruin the whole bunch. That is why they cannot afford to have one bad apple.
Expression. That's how corrupt. They're so corrupt that they're corrupting expressions.
Now it's opposite. Now they understand it as the opposite of what that old saying actually means. It's really, really funny. So it's the opposite in Vietnam, that in Vietnam, the Communist Party of Vietnam, the government of Vietnam, we admit openly that we have a corrupt members. Corruption is very strong in Vietnam, and we're gonna crack it down. That is a thing that a lot of Vietnamese liberals cannot understand. Because what they look out for is like the Western system, where they legalize corruption, they never admit that they corrupt, or they blame each other of being corrupt. And it's to them, since Vietnam admit that we have a corruption, it's a weak point. It's proof that Vietnam is corrupt. It's like, no, it means that we know that we are not perfect. We know we have this problem, and we admit that we have to deal with this. It's like when you have a disease, it's just like, okay, I have this disease and I have to kill it. And in the West, meanwhile, you just like hide that disease, and one day you're gonna die because of it. All right. It's time for, if you have any questions, you can ask me.
That's the whole segment?
I think so. What else can I talk about?
You
Yeah.
Talking about the COVID stuff?
COVID what?
Oh, you did. You talked about the flights.
I did. Haha. I finished faster than I thought, actually.
Hmm.
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 I've been trying to install one program for like 5 million years.
Hmm. Normally in Brazil, a politician are sentenced to jail of corruption and becomes the president like Bolsonaro. I mean, the story of Bolsonaro is like some different level, man. It could be so bad, so awful, so terrible, and then he became the president. And what's up with him, Bolsonaro, right now? Let me Google him. Oh, Bolsonaro news. What's it like this news about Bolsonaro? Where's him right now? Still in Florida? No clue.
Is he still at KFC in Miami?
Seems like nobody knows where he is right now. The last news is around like on March, he returns to Brazil from Florida or something. That's it. Nobody knows. Do you know any Brazilian congressional chat? Do you know where Bolsonaro is now?
Where in the world is Bolsonaro?
Tickman, sure. Why is Vietnam so pro-American even when they suffer a lot because of America? I mean, this is the Vietnamese comrade who answered that, not the liberals. This is the Vietnamese comrade who answered that question. Yeah, you're talking about those liberals, right? And according to what? According to who? Who say that we pro-America? My gosh, please don't quote Pew Research, please.
Pew Research is Luna's a debunked Pew. They're not going to be trusted. They're lying, dishonest bastards.
I mean, it's really funny when there's a meme I posted a while ago about the Americans, they go around the world and they commit war crimes on other innocent people, and then they come back home and the Hollywood will make movies about how sad the soldiers were when they committed those war crimes, right? That's the whole spirit of the propaganda system of the USA. And the same thing as for the other things, like the Pew Research, for example, or those newspapers, news outlets like BBC, Reuters, VOA, what do you call it? Radio Free Asia. Like they would go around and they create like lies and misinformation and fake poll and research.
I mean, tell them about the Pew Research. Can you find your Twitter thread?
Yes. Can you help me find it?
I will when my computer finishes being.
Oh my goodness! All right, and I go on my.
Just tell them the story.
The story is short version, and at the same time I look for that thing.
You don't have to look for it.
I think it's famous enough, right? All right. So okay, here's the thing. 2014, Pew Research, a very infamous neo-lib research center, they made a whole research and they asked about Vietnamese people love free market, the support of people on the free market, and Vietnam is the highest in the list. Weirdly, Vietnam, a super freaking communist country, had the highest approval of the free market, 93% over 100, the highest in the world. And that was like a lot of people like, oh, see, a lot of people especially those neoliberals, they say like, oh, this is a proof that Vietnam actually love capitalism, Vietnam betray communism, Vietnam love America, right? And then I was so like annoyed by that fact because it's not true at all. Just by my living experience in Vietnam, because I am born and living in Vietnam. So I emailed Pew Research a few years ago, 2019, I think, 2020. 20, yeah. I emailed Pew Research to ask for the questionnaire in Vietnamese. Because they said that they did the questionnaire in Vietnamese. And the section for that chart is question number 13. After they waited for months and months and months, by the end of the year, the Pew Research Center sent me the questionnaire in Vietnamese. And you know what? In the exact question number 13, when they use a question for the chart that Vietnam actually love free market, the question was totally corrupt. They changed the question in Vietnamese and they manipulate the translation and the name of the chart to totally make you misunderstand and totally mislead you about that.
It's just a lie.
It is a total lie. It's not even a mistranslation. It's a straight lie. So this is the question in Vietnamese, and I would say it in Vietnamese first, and then I would translate word by word to you, right? The question in Vietnamese is: đời sống của người dân Việt Nam đã tốt hơn rất nhiều kể từ ngày Việt Nam áp dụng thị trường tự do. Đồng ý hay không đồng ý? The question word by word is: cuộc sống của người Việt Nam, the life of Vietnamese people, đã tốt lên rất nhiều, has gotten much better, kể từ ngày Việt Nam áp dụng thị trường tự do. Since Vietnam have the free market. Agree or disagree? You can choose from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Now, what the question actually means? It means that, I will say the question again so you can have it in your head, right? The life of Vietnamese people has gotten much better since Vietnam has the free market. Agree or disagree? It is a trick question because they already assume that the economic system in Vietnam is free market. There is no option for Vietnamese people to agree with this. There is the only option to agree or disagree with the part that the life of Vietnamese people has gotten better or not. So it's a trick question, as somebody asked, like, when did you stop beating your wife? So they already assume that you beat your wife. The only question is, when did you stop it? The same in this question. They already assume that the system in Vietnam is free market. And they ask if the life of the people gotten better. And of course, the vast majority of Vietnamese people who heard of that question, who was asked by that question, nobody would pay attention to the free market part in the end of the sentence. They only care about the actual question, which is the life of the people got better or not. And that was why 93% of people who asked, they said, yes, strongly agree, because it is true that the life of the people of Vietnam has gotten much better. It doesn't mean that it's because of the free market, though.
Yeah, there's a false equivalence there.
Yeah.
And the real question you have to ask when you look at that chart is, why have Vietnamese lives improved so much more than all these other countries in Asia? What's different about the quote-unquote market economy in Vietnam versus all those other countries?
Yeah.
That's the real question that
yes. Or at least it should have a two question.
It should be two questions.
It should be two questions. That first is like, has the life of Vietnamese people, has it gotten better over the years? Yes. Oh.
How free is the market?
How free a market order? Do you think that the economy in Vietnam is free market? Yes or no?
They just ask, like, do you think capitalism is good? But they don't ask direct
questions. They don't
ask
that. They ask a tricky question. No. That was why 93%, the highest level, the highest rate in the world, that Vietnamese will say like, yes, because our life has gotten so much better, and it's not because of the free market. It was the socialist-oriented market economy that Vietnam applied in the late 80s. It was because, even though it still had a lot of corruption, but it's still so much better than the capitalist, the free market system. That's how tricky it is. And that exact chart the Pew Research chart 2014 was being using even to this day by a lot of neoliberals. Like you say, like, this is proof Vietnam like this, like, or they are like, or some comrades like they panic, like they came to me and they panic, like, Luna, why is Vietnamese love free market? This is so sad. This is what's going on. And I'm like, and I had to tell the whole story again. This is how tricky it is. The Pew Research, a multi-million-dollar research center, that they manipulate the question in different languages. They make use of the actual fact that lots of you do not speak a different language. And not a lot of you will not be like me, who asked for the actual questionnaire in that language.
And they do not, this is very important, they do not publish the questions in other languages. You have to email them and request.
Yes, and waited for over half a year.
Yeah,
for them
it took
to
months
answer.
for them to reply to us.
Mm-hmm.
That should absolutely be in the standard, like you should be able to go to the Pew Research website and find that information.
They should just upload that questionnaire right under that research, right under that chart, so people would know. But no, they only say, like, oh, this chart is made of question number 3 and number 13 in the questionnaire. Where's the questionnaire? Have to email them.
They're supposed to be professional. Like, I don't even know that much about surveys and shit. I remember I took a course on it in journalism, and they talked about surveys. I know enough to know that it's very important, like how you phrase a question and how you, like, options you give people for answers. Like, that's very basic, important shit that any professional surveyist should understand. And the fact that something like Pew Research, where they're getting all this money and they have all these experts, would fuck something like that up, and it has to be intentional.
Yeah.
It has to be intentional. They wouldn't just like, oops, that's a little mistake, boo-boo. Like, that has to be a doctrinal propaganda.
Why didn't they just, they're so big, why did they just post those questionnaires
because
online?
They're a propaganda house. You can't, that's why you can't trust anything that comes from Pew.
Yeah. And not just Pew alone, there are a lot of many trusts like that too.
And they never addressed this, by the way. Your tweet got like thousands of likes and stuff, and I think you tagged them, didn't you?
Yeah, I fucking tagged them.
They never addressed it. They never replied. They never did a retraction or any kind of statement to clarify or anything. They won't. They won't touch it.
They act like I don't exist.
Exactly. They have to.
Vietnam has incredibly high unionization. Over 90% of Vietnamese workers are unionized, because it is in the law that if there are over 5 workers in a factory, in a company want to have a union, there must be a union, and they got support by, the local unions, and then the provincial union level, and then the national union level, and they work directly with the local government. They're independent, by the way. They're not controlled. There's a lot of us to say that the unions are not controlled by the government, which is totally, absolutely wrong. They are totally independent. They have their own, they're totally independent. They have their own political power, and they just work equally with the local government, support each other like that.
The goal is 100%.
The goal is 100% by 2030. It's 90 already, so it's very close. How can we counter far-right narratives and engage in this discourse? I have several advice for you. First of all, you need to do a lot of research. The pain in the butt. I'm sorry. Like, I did have to debunk this Pew Research thing. It took me nearly a year, to pile up the information. But sadly, you have to do a lot of research. You have to read behind the lines. You have to, compare a lot of news and information and statistics together to have some truth behind that. You have to be very good at analyzing statistics like that. And of course, talk to people, talk with good comrades, talk to me, for example, to know, more of truth about Vietnam. Remember those statistics. And the second thing is this. Follow the Võ Nguyên Giáp, the great general of Vietnam's words. You only pick a fight that you know that you will win. That is very important. Do not waste your time to argue nonsense with fascists online, because here's the thing. The point of right-wingers, the point of fascists, they just make up lies, constantly lying about you. lies about something.
They can make up a lie in like
1
minute,
second.
1 second, and it takes you hours to debunk
Exactly.
it. If you care about the truth, it takes time.
Exactly.
If you just want to lie, it's easy.
To fight against every single lie that they make, I have to spend hours, days, even weeks to research. All right, so do not waste your time on that, because like the moment you debunk one lie, they already come up with 10 other lies.
You have to pick your battles.
Pick your battle. Only fight the battle that you know you will win and you have strong evidence. So it will, first of all, help you to not waste your time and effort and the emotion, because it's very, what do you call it? Draining your emotion and energy dealing with that. Only pick the fight that you know you will win and leave the fact and links to make them look like a fucking dumbass and left the room. Leave the room and do not spend any more breath with those fascists.
But, a better way to think about it, I mean, really, just don't even engage with the fascists. Find people who will listen to you and get paid.
True.
Seek out people who are interested in the truth.
It takes much longer to debunk bullshit than to generate it. Yeah, exactly what I just said. That is an art of war. It's a book about avoiding conflict that has no purpose. Yeah, I just taught you one art of war right there. Only pick the fight that you know that you will win. That was why we could win against both colonialist France and imperialist USA, because we only fight the fight that we know we will win. And from the Vietnamese combat, focus on the right and the real issues. Yes, you should only, if you want to pick up a fight, you know you win, but you should only choose the fight, the information that cause real damage to the working people. Do not argue nonsense.
The fact, though, I mean, honestly, the real fact is this. It's like I said, like you can't, you're not going to get anywhere just arguing. And there's this whole, that's the whole like debate fascist ideology of like idealist argumentalism, that you're going to argue your way into communism. It's bullshit. There's no real strategy that will allow you to like defeat capitalism through debating and arguing about shit. What we have to do is start practicing and organizing and building a movement and demonstrating. That's what Vietnam's doing. Vietnam is able to prove that their ideas work. And day by day, step by step, year by year, the things Luna has been saying since 2019 when you started your channel are becoming more and more undeniably true over time. And that's because Vietnam has a lot of people doing practice, not just I'm not even talking about the government. I'm talking about unionists. I'm talking about, people in all these grassroots organizations, volunteers like the Ho Chi Minh Youth Union that Luna's been working with lately. They're organized and they're building a movement, and that's what we have to do. If your mentality is, what are the best arguments to fight people online in these debates so that I can convince them that they're wrong, you have the wrong mind space. You have the wrong headspace. You need to move into an idea space where you're like, what can I do to build a movement that will defeat capitalism by building power for the people?
Hey, Luna. According to Radio Free Asia, Vietnam has a poor media environment with few, if any, speech protections. What do they mean when they said speech protection? What do you think about this, EJ? Speech protection and free speech?
I know this word. What's the word again? What's the organ?
Radio Free Asia.
That's all you got to know. It's the CIA. It's the fucking CIA.
Radio Free Asia is the CIA.
It's that's we were just talking about how you don't debate with fascists. You definitely don't debate with the fucking CIA.
I don't debate with CIA. I don't debate with Radio Free Asia. They shit.
I can make an index right now. Okay, according to Radio Free EJ, the USA has the lowest ranking in the Freedom Index. And Vietnam has the highest ranking in the Freedom Index. It's according to Radio Free EJ. There. Radio
Free EJ.
I just made a statement that is just as valid as Radio Free Asia's statement right there.
Radio Free CIA. Yes. The three shining letter agency.
I'm getting very annoyed with this computer.
Oh shit. Wrong part. Since we did talk about free market, I want to spend like 10 minutes to debunk the myth of the free market. Here's my hot take. All right? Free market doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
Never has.
And it will never exist. It never have and it will never exist. There is no free market. It is a total lie, a myth by capitalists. Because even in the USA, it's not free market. Nothing is free over there. The protectionism is extremely strong. Just look at it from the international kind of perspective. There's a true story to prove to you that there's no fucking free market in the USA. Vietnam, we've been exporting a lot of honey to USA, and you know that Vietnam is a tropical country. We have a lot of honey, bees, and flowers. So honey is actually very affordable in Vietnam. When we import the honey to the USA with our normal price in Vietnam, we just charge them on the normal price like that. The USA government didn't agree, and they charged 500% taxes on all the honey from Vietnam. I say it again. They charge 500% tax on honey from Vietnam. The point is to protect the domestic honey companies in Vietnam to make sure that you will pay for Vietnam honey as much as you pay for American honey. And that 400% goes into the pocket of the capitalists, of the government of the USA. All right? So where is the free market? If the market is truly free, why didn't the USA, the US government, the economy just let other countries to freely sell their own products into their country with their own products? It's like competition, we bring in competition, which is quote unquote good for the people, bring up innovation and better for the consumer. They have many more choices. Why do they put 500% of taxes on the honey of Vietnam?
Just look at all the bailouts that have taken place over the last century in the USA. The savings and loan bailout, the 2007 bailouts, the COVID bailouts, they bailed out Ford. That alone, if the big, huge, giant capitalist interests start to fail, they get bailed out, they get saved. If you, as a worker, have a problem, fuck you, pull yourself up by
your bootstraps. You lost your job, you lost your house, okay, bad for you, bye. But when a company face, bankrupt or something, the government will bail them out.
In a heartbeat.
Amazing.
They spring right into action.
See? It's so free. It's so equal society. It's so freaking equal.
But then right-wing libertarians will say the same thing, but they'll say, no, it'll be better if we have no government regulation of the market, then it'll all be great. And then it's like, how do you stop the corporations from just becoming the government?
Yeah. Now the corporations working with the government, the voices of the government.
No. I'm talking about the right-wing, anarcho-capitalist idea. There is no government.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the corporation's your government. McDonald's owns the police and Walmart owns the fucking roads. And
imagine McDonald's have their own police. Great.
They do.
Oh my gosh. They already do?
Disney has, go look up right now on Disney.
Yeah.
Usually at any given time, and I'll bet right now, but maybe not, but usually at any given time, Disney is hiring intelligence analysts for fucking like CIA type of intelligence.
He's like, remember when you talk about Radio Free EJ?
Yeah.
Family said, free Uncle EJ.
I'm more free here than I am back home.
Yeah. Free market really means enforce and control. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Here in Brazil, hegemonic liberal media tell us that independent media is persecuted in Vietnam. They say same about Cuba and China. Yeah. I guess DPRK, the North Korea. Brazilian liberals is a whole another level, huh? They really believe every single word of the liberal media outlets from the USA, and they even make it worse. Independent media is persecuted in Vietnam. There is okay, I think that what they took as, it is true that that many media outlets like Fox News, Reuters, BBC, they're totally owned by reactionaries. You know about that fact, right? It's like a well-known fact. Radio Free Asia is controlled by the CIA, all right? Of course, they spread their power to Vietnam too. What they did was that those powerful neo-lib media outlets, they came to Vietnam and they recruit the corrupt Vietnamese journalists to work for them and call themselves independent journalists. And when, Vietnam, of course, those independent journalists means that they totally reactionary. They spread lies about the country. They spread lies about the people, cause damage to Vietnam. And they have to pay for what they did because they were paid by overseas right-wing organization to lie about their own people for their own gain. The point is to sabotage the country, to make Vietnam as a part of imperialism. And when we crack down on those corrupt, quote-unquote, journalists, that's when those Radio Free Asia, those Voice of America, those BBC journalists, they jump and say, oh, Vietnam, there's no freedom of speech because, see, Vietnam cracked down on this freedom fighter. Vietnam cracked down on this the independent journalist. That is how they shift the narratives. And it is sick to my stomach. It makes me sick to my stomach whenever I think about it. Those people, they reactionaries, they fascist sympathizer, they made their whole careers of lying about their own people to sabotage the country and to put an end of this existence of this communism. So Vietnam could be the victim of imperialism. And when we crack them down, their boss, their boss organization cry out loud and blame the Vietnam authoritarian, crack down on this journalist. It's so insidious and so disgusting. I hope you understand my point here. I don't have nothing else more to say. Similar to the pro-democracy activists usually funded by the US, yes. The only difference in Vietnam is that because we are freaking communists, so we crack them down, we stop them from doing horrible things that they're doing. That was why we got framed as authoritarian. Meanwhile, in the West, they are so well respected. They receive a lot of money, and they call themselves this famous journalist like Andy fucking Ngo. All right, Andy fucking Ngo in the U.S. is a fascist. He is a Vietnamese American fascist who literally collect the names of activists, leftist activists in the USA and gave those names to fascists, to a group of fascist Pinkerton. Andy fucking Ngo, a U.S. pro-democracy journalist, gave the names and to, crack that down. It's like, yeah, they are well respected in the West, but in Vietnam, they've been looking down to by the people because we know who they actually are. Checking the chat right now. Freedom of speech is when capitalists are free to buy speech. Yep. Yeah. American free trade and free market mythology means freedom to exploit the third world and destroy any country of government that has the audacity to not let them get a free lunch. I don't know which group is worse. The one that has no political education and just eat any lie they are told uncritically, or the one that does and spread the lies willingly. Pretty tough. Pretty tough choice here. Free independent media like Radio Free Asia. It's even got free in the name. It must be free, like it says it's free. And Voice of America, it must be the real Voice of America or Voice of Vietnam. Ooh, Voice of Vietnam, the voice. Actually, it's a Voice of America, but in Vietnamese. That is really funny. They do exist. It's a Voice of America, but in Vietnamese, and they absolutely liars.
You ready to switch over to the?
Oh yes, we have about 30 minutes left. I am ready.
Let's try this. All right, Luna's gonna go black for just a second.
I'll be back in 1 second.
No, you can still talk.
Oh.
Keep talking.
Oh, cute talk. Okay. Oh, Kai misread a meme section in broadcast. We should be back to read a meme.
Well, see, the thing about that is it's like, we might do that again.
We might.
But it was like, I don't know. It's kind of like too easy almost. It's more fun to just. Let's see if this works.
That same media had very little to say about the rise of fascism here in Brazil or to denounce Google, WhatsApp, and Telegram use all the power to block regulation. Yeah, I mean, because it doesn't serve their agenda. Oh, look at this. I look a little bit pale. Can you change the color a little bit with this new? Oh.
I can later, but.
Oh, sure.
What do you mean by pale? You look great. I think it's your. Look at you here. You have like beautiful golden. You look great. You look pale.
How do you like this new background? And the microphone.
Do you think Luna looks pale? I don't think so.
Do you think so?
How does she sound? That's what I want to know.
Should I turn off this thing? The backup microphone?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Does she sound better? Do you sound better?
Check. 1, 2, 3. Check. Do I sound better? So, Voice of America. So on Facebook, there's an official page of Voice of America, but in Vietnamese, and it sucks. That's what I meant when they spread exact American propaganda, American dream, but in Vietnamese to Vietnamese liberals. Great. I don't know if you have a Voice of America in Portuguese or not, but we do have Voice of America in Vietnamese. Sound is louder. Sound like it's clipping a bit. It's a bit too loud in my liking. All right, check.
I can't do anything when you're not talking.
Oh, check. Somebody likes my earrings. Yeah, it is a embroidered earrings, and I really love it. I think I would get more of this in Vietnam. It's made in Vietnam, I think. I don't know. I'm not sure about that, but it's embroidered. It's very, very light, actually. And I bought it for like $1.50. So if capitalists chose fascism when conditions for the masses are extremely bad, is it fair to say that capitalists are at best latent Nazis? It was actually a little Nazi at all times. It's yes, and we Vietnamese, we consider fascism to be the bodyguards of capitalism in decay. So whenever capitalists they facing some kind of threat, and capitalism is in a decay stage, or when there is a strong class consciousness in the working class movement, they're being threatened by the working class, fascists rise up. And here's the thing too. It's exactly what happened in Italy under Mussolini and German under Adolf Hitler. It is when capitalism was threatened by strong class consciousness, strong movement of the working class. And that was when those neolibs, and also Pinochet, you know, wanted scared of the rise of Allende and the communist regime, quote unquote. So the Chicago boys funded the Pinochet, a fascist dictator, to take power in Chile. And the same as Brazil in 2016, when there was a high chance, for Brazil to get a bit more left wing. It's not even socialist yet. It's like a little bit of left wing. The CIA in the USA immediately funded Bolsonaro, a literal fascist, to be the president.
You talking about Chile or you talking about
Both. First it was Chile, and then Bolsonaro is like a very recent history. 2016. Bolsonaro was funded by a bunch of right wings in the US, and that was how he took power. So, capitalism and fascism always go hand in hand with each other, and fascists always are the one who do the ugly, dirty jobs for the capitalists, because even though in the inside they both the same, they both very evil, violent, exploitative assholes. But at least capitalists, they still care about their appearance, but they still want to fool the working class into supporting them, into believe that capitalism somehow is good for the working class. And fascists are their henchmen, and their house dogs, to go and kill and beat people up for capitalists, for the same purpose. They both want to maintain the status quo. They both want to maintain the dominance of the capitalist class. And the thing is that the liberals, the one who always signed up with the capitalists, they think that they can just reform the system from the inside. They think that they can, change the system from the inside. Just vote, everything's going to be okay. They support capitalists. They support capitalism. They want to maintain the status quo. And in a crisis time, they tend to support fascists too, because they think that they still can control fascists. That is their biggest mistake. All right. Those liberals, they think they're better than fascists. They think they're so much better. They have a higher moral than fascists. And fascists just do the dirty job for them so their hands would stay clean. And they think that, after the fascists, do all the dirty job for them, they can just take back the power and they can push down the fascism. But no, they dead wrong. They always wrong. Because right after the fascists done dealing with the working class, the communists, the socialists, and the leftists, they're gonna come after liberals next, because they will never stop until they're on top of the power, like Hitler and like Mussolini did. Yeah, Bill, I'm really digging that background. Hey, I'm happy that you like it.
Is the audio better? I've been messing with it.
Is audio better,
Better
comrades?
or worse?
Yeah, please give me feedback. I was reading about what they did to poor Gramsci in Italy. Speaking of the left being crushed by fascist movement, I admire his thought. Exactly. Imagine what he could have done if he was not, imprisoned and then killed. He died after, got out shortly after prison, but
No, he died in prison.
He died in prison?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
The fascists were still in power.
Jesus fucking Christ. First, they bought a just to imprison the communist central left candidate and sell as much as possible to Petrobras. Always the same strategies, yes. Are you still clipping and picking?
I don't know how that's possible. I'm going to check your screen.
Weird.
Perfect on my...
Weird. Oopsie. I'm about Thailand. It's a very complicated history about Thailand. You need a lot of background knowledge about it. So, long story short,
Wait, it should be working now.
Check.
Uh,
Yes, it should be working now. Okay. Can you hear me now? Oops. Oopsie. Yeah, they can hear me now.
Don't remove anything from the stream right now.
All right, fine.
Because they're getting the audio through your computer and the video.
Okay. Thailand. That was when the audio was muted. Long story short, Thailand is a complicated case. They still have a royal family. They still have a military dictator, and the economy is pretty unstable right now with a lot of infighting between different groups in the country. Pretty complicated. But then the economy is still pretty strong. Tourism strong, rice export is strong. The Thai has a strong, powerful agriculture industry. Same as Vietnam. The censorship is over.
Keep talking.
Okay, I'm checking chat and donations right now.
Don't stop talking.
No, I'm checking.
Just tell me what you have.
Jesus. Thank you. Thank you, Sonny Bits, for your donation. It's a donation, and it's thank for the great content. Hey, thank you. And now, hey, Mark Clubman, thank you for the stream. Oh, you're so sweet. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much, Conrad, for your support. I miss you too. I miss all of you. Because, like, you know, we're working on a new, not a new computer, but the new system, and everything could go wrong. Everything can go wrong, would go wrong, and could go wrong. So it did.
Close enough.
Close enough. I tried. Again, it is my second language, so small amount of audio lag.
There's gonna be audio lag. It's too different.
I am totally lag right now. I don't even.
Don't worry about it. Just keep talking. All you need to do is keep talking.
Oh,
I will let you
right.
know when it's
Jesus
fixed.
Christ.
It's really annoying me.
Oh, the only reason why I asked about Thai is because my grandpa is Thai and my grandma is Vietnamese. Wow. Just wondering how complicated that is. Yeah, I mean, hi there. You have a Vietnamese blood. Hi. Yeah, the relationship between Vietnam and Thai is very complicated. But long story short, generally speaking, we have a good relationship with each other. We're friends, and Vietnam and Thai kind of compete in a healthy way. So, like, because we're both in the same Southeast Asia, and we compete, like, you know, who export the most rice or who has the best rice, or the team, our football team kind of, you know, want to win each other so badly because, like, we are the top two or something like that. Yeah, it's kind of I don't know, complicated like that, and in a healthy way, in a funny way like that. And audio is much better right now, EJ.
Well, that's not good because it's not coming to the soundboard. Keep talking.
All right. Thai in the Vietnam War was a bit more complicated too, because Thai, they had a totally different strategy than in Vietnam. That Vietnam, like, we openly fought against colonialism, imperialism. In Thai, they want to maintain their domestic peace, so they chose a very different kind of strategy. At that time, we learned in school that they chose the bamboo strategy. So it's the more you learn about it, the more different you can see. But generally speaking, Vietnam and Thai nowadays, we have a good relationship. Checking the chat right now. We will keep talking about the audio. Oopsie. Oh no. There's no video now. Yay.
I know there's no video.
This, wow. I forget how a pain in the butt it is, you know, to start a new computer, you know. You have to, it's like a kid, you have to reteach everything. Also, fascist, yeah, this is a good point. Also, fascist rhetoric and fear mongering is now used to increase the rate of liberal policy acceptance and austerity measure, even if there's no actual threat from the left. Neo-fascism, yeah. I mean, yes, as I said earlier, the fascists, they supported the status quo, and fascists also support the status quo. So actually, like they quietly agree with each other, and they want to use each other, but on the surface level of it, those liberals, they took fascists as an excuse, as a reason for, hey, you have to support we liberals, or else those fascists are going to kill you. Like, actually, no, because your liberals are going to just, exploit us no matter what.
The liberals are the ones that put the fascists in power in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. Talking about fascists in Vietnam too, the liberals were the one who was responsible for it. The Democrats in the USA were responsible for it. Just like the Chicago Boys, responsible for fascist dictator in Chile. So in the 1950s, when Vietnam was split into North and South against our will because of the USA, because they wanted Vietnam to be like North and South Korea, the USA, the Democratic Party, they picked up a guy in Vietnam, and he was Ngô Đình Diệm. He was a fascist dictator. He used to be the prime minister who worked for the king in Vietnam. So he was a Mandarin, a feudalist kind of guy, from very rich family, Christian. He was handpicked by the USA, and he was brought into power against our own will, and nobody voted for him. And from 1954 to 1959, in a matter of 5 or 6 years, he dragged the guillotine over the south of Vietnam and executed anyone that he suspected to be communist without any actual trial. He called their they call they actually used the guillotine that left by the colonialist French. He dragged the guillotine and executed people, Southerners, anyone that he suspected to be communist. And the trial was like this: a guy holding a piece of paper written down all the fake crimes that poor innocent person did. And then after that, after he finishing reading that paper, that person is beheaded. That's the trial, quote unquote, that they claim to have. And in that matter of this, from 1954 to 1959, with the law 1059, that's the name of the law, 1059, he executed up to 26,000 Vietnamese people. And God knows how many of them were actual communists, how many of them were just innocent farmers, just like got caught by them, right? So it was totally fascist. Nobody voted for him. And the USA said that the reason why the USA brought that fascist Ngô Đình Diệm dictator up in power was like a false promise that in the Geneva Agreement, so like, oh, just put this guy temporarily to be the president of the South of Vietnam. So in the next 2 years, in 1956, there will be a national election. So then Vietnam, the whole entire nation of Vietnam can put together an election and pick up their own president. And at that time, the reason was that like the USA they said they wanted Vietnam to get ready to prepare for the election, and they said to be 2 years. And that was why that guy was in power. But in fact, that election never happened.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Going looking for my chair. That election actually.
I don't think they can hear you.
That election actually never happened. And the reason why is that the USA didn't dare to have it happen, because they were afraid. They knew that fascist dictator would lose to Ho Chi Minh. Now that was why. But you can just go read, like, right in the paper, the report of the Pentagon, the White House at that time. There was a guy who reported about it, and they said that if Vietnam in 1956, if Vietnam had an election, a national presidential election right now, at least 80% of Vietnamese people would vote for Ho Chi Minh. That was why they cannot afford to have an election. That was why that guy stayed in power until 1963-64. Then he was assassinated by his own people in a coup that prompted by the CIA. So it was really funny like that. And the reason why the CIA put him down was because he started to not listen to the CIA anymore. He became too independent. So that fascist dictator, after he got help by the US, took the power and had the power, he didn't want to get rid of that power. So that he stopped listening to the CIA and the orders of the USA. Because he wanted more power and more control. That was when the CIA kind of prompted assassination, and his own people, his own, the military members did it. They coup him, and the other guy took power and became president. That was a really messed up history of, the CIA and the puppets. Hey, Chris Weeding, thank you for your super chat. Hi there. Thank you. That's a question from a Vietnamese comrade right here. I will translate it into English, and then I answer in Vietnamese and then in English. The question is, hi Luna, I am curious about why you are so pretty and very cute. You can be a YouTuber on many different other fields, and you will definitely get famous. Why did you choose this economy and political field that like less people would watch? Để trả lời cho câu hỏi của bạn thì thực ra ấy, ban đầu mà năm 2019 ấy, năm 2019 thì mình có bắt đầu cái kênh của mình là kênh Luna ơi á, thì mình ban đầu mình ý định của mình chỉ là làm về du lịch và nấu ăn thôi, tức là mình sẽ dạy nấu ăn Việt Nam trong căn bếp của mình, và mình đi du lịch thì mình sẽ làm video giới thiệu về những cái cảnh đẹp của Việt Nam. Thì mình làm cái video đấy được khoảng gần 1 năm. Thì trong cái lúc làm video đấy và livestream á, thì rất là nhiều người nước ngoài, vì mình nói tiếng Anh mà nên chỉ có người xem mình là người nước ngoài, thì khi mà họ biết mình là người Việt Nam thì họ hỏi rất là nhiều những cái câu về đất nước của mình, những câu về chính trị và kinh tế, tại vì là họ nghe quá nhiều là những cái lời nói dối và những cái tuyên truyền sai lệch về Việt Nam ở nước ngoài. Và khi mà gặp mình thì họ ngay tức là hỏi mình là: ê, mày có biết cái này, tin này Việt Nam không? Thế là dần khoảng thời gian là khoảng mấy năm, khoảng nửa năm ấy, thì mình không thể chịu nổi nữa. Đấy là mình bắt đầu nói về cái vấn đề chính trị và kinh tế này. Thì đó là lý do vì sao mình thành ra là mình chuyển hướng từ này. Thì tương lai này mình muốn có một kênh riêng làm về nấu ăn và làm vườn, nhưng mà đó là ý định tương lai của mình. Hiện tại mình vẫn tập trung về cái này. Đó là lý do vì sao là như thế. Okay, my answer in Vietnamese is that yes, at first actually in 2019 I started my channel as a traveling and cooking channel, where I mostly just teach you how to cook and making traveling vlogs about places I go in Vietnam, introduce you good food and street food and beautiful places. But then since people like started watching my channel and knew that I was Vietnamese and I speak English, they started asking me a lot of questions about Vietnam and what's going on, because they've been fed a lot of right-wing propagandas and fake news, false news about Vietnam, my country, and they keep asking me for like a long time, over half a year. And then slowly, and I couldn't stand this anymore. I couldn't stand this anymore. It's like, God dang it, I have to do something about it. So that was why I started talking about like the actual like what is actually going on in Vietnam, what is the ideology in Vietnam, and what's been going on, and how we fight against this fake news and false propaganda. And that was why I started to switch into this kind of weird direction. Phạm, you also cannot stand it, right? Yes. I mean, kiểu như là cây mướn lặng mà gió không ngừng á, kiểu như vậy mình không thể chịu được. Mình chỉ muốn vui vẻ đi chơi nấu ăn các thứ thôi, cùng hóa ra mình phải lòi vào cái này. It's like we have a old saying in Vietnam that the trees want to rest but the wind just doesn't freaking stop. So I just want to be a normal, cute Vietnamese girl who loves cooking and traveling and show off about how beautiful my country is. And then I just got pushed into this rabbit hole. It's a very annoying rabbit hole. But here we go. We all float down here together.
You just compared yourself to the clown from It.
We all float down here.
I don't think that's the best metaphor for yourself, Luna, but
I mean, he has a red balloon. Come on. It's rad.
I still don't think that's a great idea. Okay, talk and tell people. Can you hear Luna?
Can you hear me? I just want to work on my fiction universe. Yep, Alex. Understand that? Vietnamese is such a nice language. We have what are the most tones actually? 6 tones. We have a down, we have a up, we have a question mark, we have creaky, we have a dot, and we have flat. They can hear both of us, but just cannot see us.
I'm working on that.
I believe that ideology is more important than food or our freedom in the world. Is this a hot take? Yes.
Is that a joke?
Is that a joke?
It's not even possible to tell if people are joking sometimes.
Yeah, nowadays it's so hard. The cosmos is talking to us. Yes, the cosmos is talking to you. What microphone is it using right now, EJ? The black one or the blue one?
The one right next to you.
Check, 1, 2, 3. I'm doing the ASMR style. And this is how the cosmos talking to you.
Apparently you can only do audio or video. You can't do it at the same time.
We gonna be communist. Communism will win. That's the wisdom of the cosmos.
You didn't turn off your microphone or something, did you?
No.
Keep that other one plugged in.
I did not do anything. No.
I guess we're going to go overtime a little bit to mess with the tech, so keep talking.
Shit, I have to keep talking. Dang it. Even though this is my own stream, but I have to keep talking. I don't know what to talk about.
Tell everyone what you had for breakfast this morning.
I didn't have a breakfast this morning. That's my answer.
Well, I'm sure you want to complain about that, son, right?
I do want to complain about how hungry I am right now.
So do it.
I mean, yeah. I'm hungry. I woke up too late. I couldn't have a time to eat breakfast. And here's the thing too. Are you the same like me? When I wake up in the first hour, I couldn't eat because my belly was not ready for food yet. So eating right after waking up is like really hard thing for me. So that was why when I woke up, I just usually get ready for the stream. And then about in an hour in the stream, I started being very hungry. I am very hungry right now. Oh my goodness, you're making dinner? What are you cooking? Thinking about what should I have for dinner tonight. For lunch, I think I want to have a leftover for lunch, but we have a bunch of leftover and I need to finish that. Because that's the will of the universe as a character. Yeah, I'm thinking about should I do the ASMR thing? Been thinking about that. There are many kinds of ASMR though. I don't know what is my most suitable, yeah. I'm making craft dinner. It's cheap and I am poor. Same. I love craft dinner. I don't know. I think it's one of my talent.
You don't know what craft dinner is, do you? Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Oh.
Remember when we went on the light motorcycle trip?
Yes, that one.
Kraft.
Okay.
It's like American ramen kind of.
Yeah. In Vietnam, the version of your craft dinner is either instant noodle, which is like 50 cents a bag, and fry egg, and that's it. Or we can have just banh mi, the sandwich. I mean, usually we just like when I have my own version of craft dinner, I just like cook some rice and eat with some like
You made some
vegetable.
badass ramen last night.
I did. Oh man, this is my recipe. Hear me out. Hear me out. My Vietnamese version is that.
Yeah, good.
Good. Oh, that's the whole set. Oh, look at how stuff in the table. All
I
right.
didn't think about that.
All right, it's fine. This is our table with a
Definitely
bunch of
working
stuff on
stuff.
it. Yeah. So, hear me out. This is how you cook. It's very simple and good vegan food. Cabbage. You know what do you call it? The round cabbage, like big like this. The cabbage. You chop it off, and then you get glass noodle, the Asian kind of glass noodle, or just a rice noodle. It's fine, or even egg noodle, whatever kind of freaking noodle you can find in your house. You chop some onions down into cubes. You stir fry your onion with some vegetable cooking oil. You stir fry that noodle that you can find. Remember to soak that noodle with water for like 20 or 30 minutes before that to get it soft, but not too wet. Just to get it soft, so you can stir fry it. You caramelize the onion. You stir fry the noodles, the kind of wet and soft noodle, not wet. I'm sorry, soft noodle. And when the noodle is half cooked, you throw the cabbage in, stir fry them all together until they all soft and cooked well, and then put some like kind of salt or soy sauce, whatever you want in it, and there you go. It is really freaking good. That is what I did. How was it, EJ? That very simple plate.
It was awesome. I'm the one that told you to talk about it.
Yeah, true. It was good. It's a simple like that. It's vegan and it's cheap, but it has somehow the noodle. I used glass noodle last night. So somehow the glass noodle and the cabbage and the onions, they're so good together. Just stir fry them like that. Hey, Daniel. Thank you so much for your work. Great inspiration. Hey, thank you so much for the super chat. Oh, I can see that it's a bit salty if you replace a hamburger with bacon and a sardine. Sardines so salty. Sardines. I love sardines on pizza. It might be a hot take because in
You talking about sardines?
yes.
Oh, I love sardines.
I love sardines on pizza, man. It could be a hot take though, because in my family, EJ's family, when I visited the USA, when I had pizza, and EJ's dad cracked open a can of sardine, and then I took a piece and ate with pizza. It was so good. It was so salty though. Can they make sardine salty? Or I have to make a whole new version of pizza that is not sardine, so I can eat with sardines, so they can like mix together.
I'm so annoyed right now.
You're always annoyed. I'm sorry, Conrad.
It's only working with either video or audio. I guess I can't have both.
That's strange.
I don't know what the hell the problem is.
Oh, you love the song? Thank you. This is my debut song. Thinking about making a few more songs and make a whole channel about it, but I don't know. Just thinking about it. Say visual. It's funny, you can see me. Yay, this is me. I love sardines. It's a people's fish.
Keep talking.
I love sardines, but I love tuna more, especially at the pizza.
Loon is a tuna. It's true though.
Sardines and tunas. I love tuna sandwich. You mix some of tuna with, Oh, we can have a tuna sandwich today if you want.
Yeah,
we have a tuna, we have a mayonnaise.
That sounds good to me.
Some sandwich. I love there's a Vietnamese way of tuna that I really like. I'm not sure you'll like it, but here's how I cook it. Another craft dinner of mine, especially in a, I don't know, in a picnic or camp, in a camp or something like that, or just like normal at home. When I was poor student in university, I would buy a can of tuna, which was about that time was $1 for a can, enough for 2 meals for one person. I crack open that can of tuna. I put it on my gas stove, cook it hot in a can like that. I don't know if it's bad for your health or not, but that's how I did it because it's poor freaking student. You need to eat something fast. I put that open can on a stove, cook it, boil the oil and the tuna. And then after it boils a little bit, I put a little bit of fish sauce into the can of tuna. And I just get a hot bowl of rice and just eat that tuna from the can, hot with some fish sauce in it. It's good. People is good. And even today, sometimes I still have that kind of meal, so I can remember back into my poor day, a bowl of rice and can of tuna. That can and I can for 2 meals. That was how desperate I was. And I mean, I usually put more fish sauce, so it could be more salty, so it could last longer. I never eaten pizza with fish. Maybe you should try it. You would love it or hate it. You either love it very much or you hate it a lot. I don't. Now it was debut. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is the recipe. Got written. Thank you, Comrade Ambient Dream Studio. Cabbage, chop, glass rice, noodle. Soak it in water a little bit so it gets soft, easier to stir fry. Onion cubes, stir fry in cooking oil and noodle. And then once you know it's half cooked, throw the cabbage in the cooking until it's soft. Add soy sauce or salt or anything you like. There you go. That's a vegan fast meal and cheap right there. It's good. It smells good. Somehow it smells good. If you can afford some kind of meat, you can throw in some chicken or beef, pork to your taste. Hey, this is interesting. Coffee with a hint of chocolate. I want to try that. I never thought of putting chocolate into coffee. I know chocolate and milk, but chocolate and coffee? I want to try that. Ooh, you once had a pizza that had calamari, shrimp, octopus, and scallops. That's a seafood pizza. Here's the thing too. Oh, talking about pizza. I don't know why, but you know what? Seafood pizza is so popular in Vietnam. It's so popular that it became the default pizza in many combos in Vietnam. Remember remember EJ when we went to Pizza Hut?
Yes.
And they saw a new freaking good combo with all the things that I like. Yes. A bit of rice or spaghetti and some salad and soup and a pizza.
Non-seafood pizza.
But the pizza is always seafood. It just only option a seafood pizza. It's really funny like that. So seafood pizza is very common in Vietnam. So yeah. Salami pizza is actually not that common. It's seafood that must have shrimp, octopus, squid in it. That's the basic. Shrimp, octopus, and squid. I love tuna salad. Oh man, I love tuna salad. I cannot explain to you how much I love it, but I love tuna salad. Seafood pizza as a default setting? Yes. No kidding. That is interesting. The best way to have a coffee, in your opinion, is with spices and ginger. With the ground coffee.
Ginger coffee, never heard of that.
Ginger and some spices. Did you like? Huh. Stroganoff pizza? What is stroganoff?
Stroganoff. I love beef stroganoff. It's like I don't know, it's Russian. Very good, whatever it is. It's like a stew.
But they have stroganoff pizza.
I know, that sounds awesome. I've never had it.
Ooh, it looks awesome. It's like beef stew on a pizza with a lot of cheese on it. Okay. Okay. Oh my goodness, I'm hungry. This is the bad thing. I love talking about food, and I love learning new recipes. And immediately I make new recipe every single day with the ingredients that I have. But then it just make me hungry. I know exactly what you're talking about. A friend of mine found some mushrooms at an Asian grocery store in Toronto that were almost noodle-like in the shape and size. It's white, right? I think they went into stir fry. I'm not sure. I was really hot. I know exactly what I'm talking about. That was called nấm kim châm in Vietnam. And it's called like needle mushroom because it's long and small, like a long stick or a long needle. That is good for everything. Stir fry, making soup. Kimchi mushroom soup is so good. Hot pot, steam it, steam mushroom. Yeah, try it. It's good. We love them. We love them in a hot pot. Man, I want to have mushroom. Fish sauces love, fish sauces live. Yes. And here's the thing too. This is the funny part me. To say that Uncle EJ pointed this out. That fish sauce, the fish is the best if you dip it in fish sauce. And that sounds very cruel. You dip the fish in its own sauce, and it's so good.
It's like the mother and child reunion.
The mother and child reunion. It's chicken and eggs. Now it's a fish and the fish sauce. I don't know how, but if you dip the fish in fish sauce is the best. Dip fish, I try to dip the fish in all kinds of sauce that I can find, either in Vietnam or in the US. But the best is fish sauce with some hot chili pepper in it. No one can beat that. But not gonna lie, the fish and chips, I love, the mayonnaise with some dill in it, lemon juice with fish. But no, fish sauce still better. A Vietnamese restaurant is near your home. Oh, okay. Hope you can go there more. I think I saw someone use those mushrooms as a basis for a vegan replacement for chicken. Yeah, mushroom, you can just use them as meat if you want. I mean, that's the what do you call it? The logic in Vietnamese vegans, like you cook the exact same meal, but you replace meat with mushroom or meat with fried tofu. One of the two, fried tofu or mushroom. And then the fish sauce or salt with soy sauce. This is it. Same recipe for everything. Ginger tea, it is good. Ginger tea is good. Here's the thing. Next time when you make ginger tea, try putting some lemongrass in it. If you can find a lemongrass in grocery store, when you make ginger tea, just cut down a kind of short piece of ginger, like lemongrass, this long. Smash it a little bit. Throw that into that cup of ginger tea. There is a ginger lemongrass tea with some sugar and some lemon juice in it. Man, so good. It's good for your health too. You don't even need tea. You just need ginger, lemongrass, honey, or sugar, and lemon juice. Here we go. Oh, you watch the CBS activity? You missed my presentation? Yes, go to the YouTube channel of CBS International Department. I can find it to you. They did post all the presentations there on that channel. CPUSA International Department. Okay. Here we go. All right, here's a link. You can check the whole list of presentations there, and I was one of the last. So yeah. Coffee with salt. Yeah, coffee is a thing in Vietnam. When you make coffee, just put like teeny tiny bit pinch of salt in it, and it will taste different. Or you can make instead of use what?
It'll taste different, huh?
Good in a good way.
I think if you put salt in anything, it'll taste different, right?
I mean, in a good way. I mean, you have a new taste of coffee.
Is that all they do? They just put a little salt in it?
Yes, just teeny tiny pinch
but
of
here's
salt.
the word question. Do you put it in the coffee grounds before you brew it? Do you put it in the coffee after it's brewed?
After.
So you take a cup of coffee and you sprinkle some salt in it.
Yes.
That's all they do.
That's all they do.
Do you put cream and sugar in it too?
Depends. But sometimes people put cream cheese in it.
Like the Laughing Cow cream cheese?
No. The thing that they can spray, the cream.
Whipped cream?
The whipped cream.
There's a huge fucking difference between whipped cream and cream cheese.
But I mean, you remember when I was like, it's a whipped cream but cheese flavor.
I don't know what.
I don't know how that guy did it or something. I could be wrong, but there was a guy in the South, in the Ho Chi Minh City. He has like his own brand of coffee that he makes salt coffee with whipped cream cheese flavor in it. It's super thick.
I don't recommend people try that without more investigation. I don't think Luna's giving you the best recipe. Sorry, I could be wrong, but that's his brand name. But Luna's gonna have people putting cream cheese in their coffee.
Oh no! Oh shit!
I don't know,
Sorry.
maybe it's good.
Maybe it's good, Conrad. But if you have any diarrhea, please don't blame me. Don't blame me. Another way to try different coffee is instead of using milk, you use coconut milk. Try it. It's good. It's a coconut milk coffee. Bill, I try salt. Yeah, just a teeny tiny bit of pinch of salt. Do not put it too much. I don't want to make it salty. Just a little bit of it. Oat milk in your coffee. Yeah, sounds good. And the kind of milk, coconut milk is going to be different too. Huh? I love it. We put coffee in everything. Like we make like a coconut smoothie. You know? No, we freeze coconut and coconut milk, and then we grind them, blend them, and then we put a 2 or 3 small teaspoon of coffee in it. And that is a coffee flavored coconut smoothie. Sounds good. Black coffee with salt or cream. Usually it's with milk or cream. Black coffee with salt is a bit weird, though you can try it, but if you have anything with your diarrhea, please don't blame me. But usually in Vietnam, we put salt in brown coffee, milk or cream. Do you have any works to recommend before, for after reading the textbook you translated? First of all, the next part is going to be about historical materialism. I already finished translating it. Just need to write the annotation and finishing it. But hopefully, the end of this year or early next year, it will be published. But after that, you can go read what else? Actually, you can go read. If you want, you can go read Das Capital if you want. Remember all the knowledge that you learn in dialectical materialism. You can start cracking down on Das Capital, learning about how capitalism works. You got like mostly the next part is going to be historical materialism, learning about the history of human being in a dialectical materialist way, and it's going to relate it to scientific socialism. Dialectical materialism is more related to political economy. In that way of saying you can, but do not have a too high of expectation, because Das Capital is very hard kind of book to follow. So just do it slowly and so whenever you can. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just go and check out the annotations and where we recommend the different books of Marx and Engels. You can start reading them. You can read
that's what I would do.
like like the Dialectic of Nature by Engels, or like Anti-During, also good. Also,
I would start with the books that we quote a lot in the book, like in the annotation specifically, Dialectics of Nature,
Anti-During.
What's the
Here,
here, I got the book right here.
The Gotha program, the critic of the Gotha program.
program.
Lot. State and Revolution by Lenin.
There's one that we quoted all the time. I'm finding right now. You can read Ho Chi Minh.
Oh yeah, you can read Ho Chi Minh. You can check out,
Vijay Prasad's
Vijay Prashad, the new translation of Ho Chi Minh, selected Ho Chi Minh selected Ho Chi Minh works. Very interesting too. Read his writing on the path, the revolutionary path. It will tell you very clearly about what steps that Vietnam had to take to have a revolution, how we run it, and how we continue like doing it. How to have a strong communist party. It's kind of a guideline for a country like Vietnam to have a revolution.
I guess we'll give it 8 more minutes, and if I can't figure it out, we'll just call it a day.
Okay.
I don't know, there's a problem, there's a deep problem.
I recently read Marx, Wage Labor and Capital. That seems like a nice grammar for capital. Okay. State and Revolution is a good read. Yes. Yes, it is. I think that the Dialectic of Nature is really good, but sadly he couldn't finish it because Engels was busy, finishing Marx's work after he died. So he only left he finished half of the book, and the other half was he just left some basic notes in it. So it was not finished. I really wish if I have a time machine, I'm gonna go back to Engels' time and beg him to finish the Dialectic of Nature because it's so good. It's explained a lot about dialectics, materialism, and a really great foundation of dialectical materialism. Anti-During also good, teach you a lot. The poverty of philosophy, khốn cùng của triết học. Poverty of or the Holy Family also good. It's so funny that whenever I when I try to remember any names of Marx and Engels books, I have to think about Vietnamese names first, and then I
Translate
translate
it to English because that was what I am more confident with. Like the Holy Family starting thần thánh này, the sự khốn cùng của triết học, poverty of ideology or something, philosophy. Yeah.
How does it sound? I think I just got it working, maybe.
Oh my goodness.
How does it sound, people? Talk.
Check everybody. How do I sound right now? Do I sound like nice? My throat is very actually tired. Hey, how do you like this position of this microphone? Do you want it to be here or totally off the camera? I gotta say that if it's off the camera, I would sound a little bit worse because it's further from my mouth. But But I don't know. How does it affect you? Is that annoy you or no? I don't think it doesn't annoy me at all. Improved from before. Sounds good. Okay. It does sound better. Good.
The clipping or anything?
Is there any clipping, people? Comrades? Wait a minute. There's already an audio book of my translation book. Here we go. Who made it? Interesting. I cannot copy the freaking. I hate it.
Wow.
Somebody already
6
made it?
hours and 34 minutes.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
6 hours?
And 34 minutes.
Of the whole thing or
I don't know.
or the one chapter?
I don't know.
Ooh, my goodness. Okay. Good.
Part 1.
Oh.
No.
No.
I think this is one. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, it's only one part 1. I think it's the whole thing. Dang.
To be honest, is it AI narrator or actual voice?
No clue. I can't listen to it while I'm producing.
I see.
But anyway.
Yeah, anyway.
Interesting.
Okay, interesting. Okay, interesting. Good to know.
Drop the link, Lumen. Did you lose it? I can do it.
Yeah, I kind of lost it.
I literally can't. I don't have
CH8 said I don't mind the microphone there. Okay, good. It's why that Marx was planning to write 6 volumes of Capital. Imagine all the insight that the proletarian movement had to rediscover afterwards. Yeah. Wish that, Marx and Engels would have a more time.
Why don't you put this here so you're facing towards you?
So Marx can finish all 6 volumes of Das Capital, and Engels can finish at least Dialectic of Nature.
The problem is now it's blocking you. Can you do that? Is that okay?
Yes.
Can you see it okay?
Yes. Good.
We're just figuring things out, folks.
Mm-hmm. What Vietnamese think of the North Korean population? Here, Brazilian people know very little of them. They think they are brainwashed. Oh no. Generally speaking, Vietnamese people sympathize for North Korean people, and we consider them to be the same situation as in Vietnam in the 50s and 60s when we were splitted. And we hope one day that Korea can be reunited because we still consider Korea to be one country. Of course, there are still some ding-dong liberals who, believe the media outlets, the lies about North Korea. So
I'm hungry.
Me too.
Can I get Korean food?
Yes, Dookie.
It's quite a drive.
Quiet drive.
Anyway, we'll talk about that offline. Wrap
Okay.
it up. Now that the tech's working, we're done.
Finally, everything works. We stop the stream. Oh my goodness. Okay, it's a very much pleasure. Hey, that's a super chat from. Oh yeah, Daniel. I did cover that. Good. Okay. Thank you everybody to be here with me and have a good night. Have a good day. Have a good afternoon. Have a good morning wherever you are. And
Close it with a song.
oh my gosh, how can I sing with this voice? I will sing a lullaby song.
A lullaby.
This is a lullaby song. In Vietnamese. Oh my goodness. Kia đàn chim tìm về nơi đâu, một ngày đã qua vui bên nhau, về tổ ấm đầy tình thân ái, Hòa tiếng hát đón chào ngày mới. Này bạn hỡi hãy ngủ đi, tan nhẹ vào trong gió mùa thu, dịu dàng khúc ca thần tiên tan vào giấc mơ êm đềm. Bye everybody. Night.